It's Sunday, and today we are talking about parasites. An unlikely conversation, but one I kind of stumbled upon, and I found it quite hilarious. So here we go. On the subject of life and how worthy it is of protecting, I managed to stumble upon an article discussing studies that show how important it is to conserve and save the dying populations of parasites. Yes, you heard that right. We need to not only save the whales, but also need to save the parasites. This was such a fascinating idea and seemed so strange I couldn't pass it by. I had to read it. There are a few papers, it seems, on this subject, and various scientists at different universities that agree that saving parasites is paramount and equally important as saving any other endangered species of animal. They point out that only 4% of known parasites can infect humans. Thus, the mindset and general dislike of such creatures is unfounded and misinformed. What really stuck with me as interesting was that we have only discovered about 10% of all the parasites in the world, according to the article. Obviously, this brings up some questions in my head. Some valid and some just ridiculous. First of all, I wonder, how do we know we have only discovered 10% when we have not discovered all of them that exist? What calculations brought them to that number exactly? Second, if we have not discovered all the parasites, how do we know that preserving them and subsequently any other undiscovered ones will not adversely affect humans? If we start preserving parasites and growing dying populations back, there's no telling how that could change human existence. Obviously, these are not important questions, or likely knowledgeable questions, but they are fun paths to go down nonetheless. As it pertains to the discussion at hand, this article brings some validity to the issue of placing certain types of life into different categories of worthiness. Normally, one would think of a parasite as something to be extinguished. Humans think of parasites and, as is normal, consider all the illness that can be brought about by them. Naturally, the end of that thought process is get rid of them. However, without looking more closely, we would miss seeing the bigger picture, the macro environment, as it were. Without certain parasites, other species would go about unchecked. This is one thing, even if you believe in it or not, that climate change has done for me at least. It has made me aware of how interconnected everything is, to the same degree that having sadness is the only way that happiness exists as well. One cannot have the good without the bad. We have seen it over and over again, that taking one thing away in an ecosystem has repercussions down the road. Attempting to put different forms of life at different levels of worth is difficult because what one person sees as a parasite that should be eradicated, another person sees as a fish population balancer. In saying all this, I cannot profess to think that all life is on the same level. I would think twice before killing a person, but I'm quite quick to kill a roach if it is anywhere near me. So I cannot get on a high horse and look down upon those who want to say a fetus is more important than a bacteria. But the hope is that this article and the idea of saving the parasites would bring some new perspective to everyone and maybe give you something to ponder. If you are interested in commenting about this episode, you are welcome to. You can either send me an email at lawlessconversations@yahoo.com. That is LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS@yahoo.com. You can also comment on Twitter at lawlessconvos, LAWLESSCONVOS. Finally, you can also contact me on Facebook if you just look for Lawless Conversations, 2 different words, LAWLESSCONVERSATIONS. I look forward to hearing from you. The references to any sources that I use in each episode will be available in the bio, along with all of these social media connections. Join me on Wednesday as we dive into the concept of personhood. Thank you for listening to this episode. I look forward to Wednesday.